All right, we're going to talk about Jeff, the baby land shark. Amazing interactions with Professor X, Sandman, Electro, Storm, able to go into locations like Space Throne. So we're going to talk about the three best decks for Jeff. But before we do that, we're going to discuss whether or not Jeff is worth 6,000 tokens. I'll say it like this. Let's say you have Galactus and Thanos and enough tokens to buy High Evolutionary. Maybe you should consider Jeff. The way that I look at Jeff is that, there's a lot of good 2-drops like Scorpion and Lizard. And they can be placed into a lot of decks, and they are good in certain synergies and certain situations for sure. But is Lizard or Scorpion worth 6,000 tokens? So that's going to be up to you. I certainly feel like Jeff, for me, is going to see more play than Teenage Warhead or Master Mold. And I see that there's a lot of potential for Jeff being used in a lot of decks. That being said, the initial stats on Jeff are fine. Nothing special. But there are some decks that I think are going to be playing Jeff a lot. And one of them, I believe, is going to be the most hated deck. In fact, I played up against another YouTuber, and I don't think they knew I was playing against them. And so there were some people watching their stream and watching my stream at the same time. And he went on a rant about my deck, this deck right here. This is going to be a very hated deck. Now, this is not my style of deck. In fact, inside my game, I titled this deck "Fun at Parties." Like, oh, you must be fun at parties. Like, this is just Mr. No Fun Pants. This is not a deck that people are going to enjoy playing against, because it does things that prevents you from playing the way you want to play. And that is with Sandman, Leader, Arrow, Wave, Professor X. All of those cards prevent your opponent from doing things. So this is a variation of Sandman Ramp, but with the Professor X package, if you will. And I feel like probably the most effective use of Jeff is with Professor X and Daredevil. I had a lot of fun playing that because you can place Professor X into a lane that has Jeff, and then you could move Jeff out of there if you don't need the power. The power is not wasted. You could place Jeff into a Professor X lane. Jeff can go anywhere. Also, when Sandman's in play or Electro's in play, you can still play 2 cards, and that actually happened quite a bit. Now, I played this deck, and other people have been playing this deck, and it has been getting tremendous results. I was able to climb from 107 to 109 in 30 minutes, which is unheard of in Infinite. I had an 80% win rate, and I went up total 20 cubes. I was averaging 2 cubes per game. And yeah, it just worked. So try this deck out. I think this is probably the best Jeff deck that I've seen so far. It played very easily. If you've played Sandman Ramp already, it's quite good. Also, Leader is now viable in these decks that run Sandman. So the way that I see Arrow and Leader, and this is going to be controversial. First of all, I just want to say this. I don't like this deck. It's just not my deck. I'm not going to play anymore. It's getting deleted out of my game as soon as I'm done making this video. But Arrow and Leader were cards that were good in every deck. Like, I want to build a move deck. Let's put Arrow and Leader in it, right? I want to build a Silver Surfer deck. Let's put Arrow and Leader in it. Now, Arrow and Leader are good cards in this deck. Not every deck. There is a difference. Absolutely, there is a difference between a card being good in a deck versus a card being good in every deck And that's where they become oppressive when they're played too much. And why would you build a move deck if you're gonna play arrow and leader in every deck? It just becomes kind of bad in general. So fun at parties, amazing. Next deck that I played that actually surprised me that it did so well was Cerebro 3. I feel like Cerebro in general is a frustrating deck to play because not only are you playing against your opponent, you're playing against the locations. And there are a lot of locations that are perceived as favorable in general, like Monster Island, let's say, that are not good for Cerebro. And you have to play this deck, at least 2 cards to shut down those locations, that being Rhino and Magic. So if you have problematic locations, I find the Cerebro decks to be temperamental to play. Bast and Valkyrie were both very helpful, and Jeff was just a good addition to the deck into getting into hard to get into locations, and he's just a nifty little trick for sure. And of course, he has 3 power, so he slots very well into Cerebro. Now, I fully expected this deck to be garbage. I really did. But it wasn't. I actually did fairly well with it. I played 10 games. I won 70% of my games, and I went up 7 cubes, average 0.7 cubes. So in general, having a 53 to 55% win rate is perfectly acceptable. And anything over 0.3 cubes is also acceptable in my opinion. It's just, you're not going to have this go on for very long. So what I'm looking at, various deck builds, I'm typically assessing whether or not the majority of people are able to get above a 53% win rate. Were they able to get above a 0.3 cube rate? And that makes for a good deck. And so Cerebro 3 is fine. I still feel like there's something missing to make this deck even better. But I did have a lot of fun playing it, and it did play just fine. The last deck that I think is amazing, and I've got 2 versions of this deck. One of them worked well, one of them did not. And this is just a control deck. Now, what I like about this deck here is that it gets a lot of power out early with cards like Zero, Titania, and Lizard. Maintains priority. You've got the Professor X Daredevil package along with Spider-Man. So between Spider-Man, Professor X, and Daredevil, you have so many cool tricks you can do. Also running Storm, which works well with Doom, and Juggernaut. Oh my God. I don't even know. I probably could go on a whole thing about how amazing Juggernaut is. But Juggernaut is quite good. Now, so this is a control version of the deck. You play Storm on turn 3, and you play Juggernaut to knock people out of the lanes. You've got Daredevil, and then when Daredevil comes out, you can, I typically try to hold on to Spider-Man to turn 5. You place Spider-Man into a lane, sometimes with Titania, which is very helpful if you have Daredevil out, and then on turn 5, you can play Spider-Man, and then behind Spider-Man, Titania to lock up a lane and then prevent your opponent from playing there any further. And then always there's really cool tricks you can do with Doctor Doom, Magneto, and Gamora, which they're just good cards. This deck was actually just fine. I was able to win half of my game, so that's a little bit low. I was able to net 4 cubes, and I was able to average 0.4. I did try some other decks. I was trying to get Teenage Warhead and Valkyrie to work. I was having some problems because Teenage Warhead typically wants to have priority on turn 5, and Valkyrie does not want to have priority on turn 6. And so I found that there were some conflicts in this deck. And then Rogue, in theory, is very good. It seems to me that the best success I've had with Rogue is inside Silver Surfer decks. And needless to say, this deck did not do very well for me. I actually was not able to win, and I lost cubes. So I did try a lot of different decks, those 4, and easily, in my opinion, the most successful deck was this one right here. Keep on the lookout for this deck. I think that people are really going to start hating this type of deck. For me, I don't jump to conclusions. I like to see if a deck is oppressive before I say start calling for nerfs. Everybody's always calling for nerfs. It kind of drives me a little bit crazy. Can we just hang out for a week and try it out and see what materializes? I mean, if this deck right here is being played 20% of the time and it has a much higher win rate and cube rate than all other decks, then we could start talking about nerfs. But let's wait a week and find out. But right now, initially, it does look like it has good stats. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching and keep on gaming. Bye for now.